What's going on, awesome people? I'm Marcus.
I'm Tony.
And today we are finally going to give y'all our review of the cruise and will we cruise again. But first, let me run this red light because I ain't got no choice now. So y'all get to see this live, and I actually went through it on caution. But anyway, what I meant to say was, y'all do us a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, it's completely free, and then hit the notification bell. That way you get notified every time a video comes up and uploads and all that good jazz. But anyway, this is basically how we're going to do this. We're going to give y'all 5 things we didn't like about the cruise, 5 things we liked about the cruise, and hopefully 5 helpful tips of cruising. And then at the end, yes, you have to stay to the end to find out if we will cruise again. Tony, you got tip number 1?
Are we starting with what we like, don't like, or a tip?
Don't likes. We're gonna start with don't likes, then likes,
Okay.
then tips.
So one thing that we did not like about cruising was, I guess I can kind of lump these two together, is the onboarding process and the debarkation process. Those were worse than any air travel I have ever been through, and I have traveled all across the United States, flown multiple times, but I will say
Brinkley.
the
Sorry.
TSA checkpoints that I've had to deal with have been a cakewalk compared to getting on a cruise ship.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrible. I'll just call it like it was. They said there was times to load and unload. All that was out the window.
Yeah, we had to specifically pick a time to board. So we had a window between like 12:30 and 1:30 that we were supposed to be able to get on the ship. Everybody was supposed to do that in order to stagger arrival and make the process smoother. Well, when we got to the terminal, it was absolute chaos. There was no rhyme, no reason, no order whatsoever. It was a hot mess.
And it was the same way getting off the boat. Now, with that being said, that was Horizon through Carnival. We can't say it's like that on every cruise because we talked to multiple people that said it is not, but for that specific cruise, Horizon through Carnival, yeah, it was horrible. So we'll call that number 1 and number 2 since it was getting on and getting off. Number 3 for me was the lack of communication from basically the crew itself and how you were supposed to do certain things, like certain areas you were supposed to go to, time frames of things you were supposed to do, weren't supposed to do, like tipping people, how to tip people, etc.
There was a bunch of confusion about the fact that even if you tip in cash, they're still going to take a gratuity off of your card that you put your deposit on, no matter what. You have to go to guest services on like
Everything.
I think it was like 2 days before we were getting off the ship, we could go and have guest services remove the automatic gratuities because we chose to pay our tips in cash. But that was just not very well communicated, among other things. So if, as first-time cruisers, even though we were on board with some friends of ours, we still had a lot of fly by the seat of our pants moments.
Which brings me to dislike number 4. Internet and app services. First off, all-inclusive is
open to interpretation. We'll
absolutely.
just say that.
But with the internet service, for one person, You have to buy internet daily, weekly. There's package levels. So if you want internet service of any kind to stay in contact with the real world, no, you're going to pay for it.
Out the nose.
And then they offer a app service for you to be able to onboard chat with people
In your group.
on your ship, kids, friends, whatever.
Like for us, our friends that we were cruising with were several doors down on the same deck.
Other side of the ship, let's
like
just be honest.
literally, you had to walk like quarter mile across the ship to get to them. And so when we first arrived, you know, you get on board and your luggage may not arrive to your room for hours later. Well, if you're planning on meeting each other for dinner and you haven't bought an internet package, you have to rely on their app to be able to communicate. It's kind of like a group chat through like WhatsApp or something of that nature.
It sucked.
Horrible. You would send a message, you know, like we let our friends know, hey, we're in our room, we're gonna be ready for dinner in about an hour. 3 hours later, they might get the message.
Or the next day. It was horrible, to say the least. Number 5, what do you got? Because I know you got something. We got more than 5, folks, but we're going with 5.
I mean, there was definitely things that I disliked, but probably one of the biggest disappointments, I would say, for me was the ports of call. And what I mean by that is not necessarily the destinations that we went to. I mean, Mexico is beautiful, you know, Cozumel, then you've got the Cayman, and then we also went to Jamaica. Beautiful places, but the cities that you pull into,
which, by the way, are manufactured, they're actual cities there, but inside that city,
there's like a little port village
that the cruise lines have made and developed.
So it's not an authentic picture of any of the cultures that you're going to see. It was very heavily
hustled, panhandle.
I mean, a tourist trap really is what it is. You've got lots of people that are there who are, you know, like he said, hustling. And no offense to them, because I mean, that's how they have to make a living in those areas, but they are very aggressive. And in order to get outside of those areas, it can be very dangerous. So if you're not paying for a tour guide or paying to go on an excursion, you really don't get the opportunity to see much of the places that you're going to visit. Especially
in Jamaica. Jamaica was by far the worst of all 3. Mexico was pretty rough. Grand Cayman was fantastic.
That was beautiful.
It was easy for us to get beyond the port village, because I don't know if it's the way the Caymans handle it or whatever, but we didn't get the hustle there. I mean, literally you could go out, explore the city at the Grand Cayman absolutely easy. I mean, it was phenomenally easy to do. Jamaica, we were bum rushed so much by everybody.
We literally had to put the GoPro away, because every single person that saw that he was carrying the camera immediately shoved a flyer in our face for an excursion.
And with that being said, look, I'm just going to be very honest about it. We know Jamaica is beautiful. We know the people and the culture is beautiful. And we're not blaming the people in any of these locations for this type thing. And we hope it doesn't discourage you, because there's still wonderful places to go. But this is something at the Carnival level, and possibly even other cruise lines. I can't speak for them because we haven't been on one other than Carnival. This is something at the Carnival level that could definitely be dealt with and changed.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's our 5 for now.
Kind of a little more information on that to elaborate a little bit of why it was a disappointment. And maybe this is just us having specific expectations. So it's not necessarily anything against Carnival, because you know, you each have your own expectations and you're responsible for those. But you know, you kind of think you're going on a cruise, you're going to get off the ship and there's going to be a beach.
Take 697. No, just kidding.
The camera went dead in the truck, so.
Multiple times, kept overheating. Don't know why.
Thank you, GoPro.
Yeah, appreciate you. As you can tell, this is a different scene. Same conversation, different scene. Anyway, I think the last thing we were saying in the dislikes was Tony was talking about the lack of a beach.
Yeah, so elaborating on that a little more, we just had the expectation that when we got off the boat in all of these ports, that you would have beach access. Since you're going to, you know, Caribbean islands, you think beach and beautiful water. And while, yes, the water was beautiful, unless you paid to go on an excursion, you didn't really have the opportunity to get in it.
No, not at all. But that's enough of our dislikes and us kind of complaining about it. We're going to move into likes. I think we both will 100% agree our number one like was the food.
Food in the restaurants was phenomenal.
Yes, they are not a part of the all-inclusive free food that you get, or that you paid for, should I say.
The buffet food,
it was hit or miss. No complaints, but no
we
woo-hoos.
We enjoyed being able to pick a dinner time and go eat in a restaurant. It was a lot less hectic that way.
Absolutely.
You didn't really have to wait in line or anything. Just a much calmer experience of dinner.
Yep.
And every restaurant that we went to what, 3 different ones? Yep. Was amazing.
Which brings us to like number 2, the service of the crew, and one of our favorite, and I know definitely Tony's favorite, was the towel animals.
Yes, we love the towel animals. If you watched our previous videos, you would have seen our animals that we got every day, and then there was one day where they actually had on all of the pool chairs, like the chaise lounges at the pool, a different animal on each chair, and they were adorable. They just were a bright spot every day when you came back to your room and you got a different animal, and we would be guessing, like, what do you think we got today? Which honestly, I can't remember if it isn't in the previous one, so I will definitely insert a picture somewhere in here of all of the animals. That way you see what we're talking about. I thought you put it in the other video.
I can't remember, to be honest. Like number 3 for me personally was, even though I complained about the internet situation as a dislike, it's also a like, because one of the best things about the cruise for me was being able to disconnect and just unplug and
reality
sleep
for a little bit.
You know, because that was one of the best things about our room in general, was it was dark. Unless you cut on a night light, it was dark, and you could just go in there and hibernate like a bear. And I'm sure there's multiple times, I know we both did.
Yeah, naps were great. And if you guys see me dab my eyes, no, I'm not crying. I am struggling with seasonal allergies right now, and it's like somebody turned on a water faucet with my eyeballs, so I'm crying all the time.
She's kidding about the seasonal allergies. It's been all year. It has not been a season this year.
It's been going on for quite a while. But anyway.
And if you hear something whining in the background,
that's our dog.
It's Lettuce. She's mad because we put her up to do this, because if we wouldn't have,
you wouldn't have been able to hear us over her chewing her bone.
Or trying to crawl in our laps, which...
She's, you know,
not
70, 80 pounds, so yeah, she's not a lap dog.
Like number 4, you got one?
Gracious. So I gotta think about what we already talked about. So we already talked about the food and...
service of the people.
The service.
And the animals.
And the animals.
Unplugging.
Yep, and unplugging. you said a little bit, and you keep calling it accommodations, but the room itself, for the boat being as old as it was, or ship, I'm sorry, you're not supposed to call it a boat, it's a ship.
It's a boat.
We saw that on a lot of like travel forums, don't call it a boat. But for it to be as old as it was, our room was actually very nice. Amazingly comfortable bed, you know, spacious, way more spacious than what I thought, because a lot of people had said that, you know, if you have an inner room with no balcony or no windows, that they can be really small. To me, I mean, it didn't feel small at all.
No, honestly, I mean, it is a small room. It's probably a 10 by 10 maybe. Honestly, though, it didn't feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. The way they had everything oriented in the room, you felt like you had room to move around. Like, it wasn't like, excuse me, like an RV bed where you got to crawl over each other to get out. I mean, there was plenty enough room for each of us to get up out of the bed, walk around it. You know, if you watched my video,
Tony could put her luggage right beside the bed.
Yes. If you watched my video doing the room tour, you know, you saw there was a kind of a desk / vanity table. The bathroom, you know, had plenty of room to move around in it. So I would say that was, you know, our other like was the accommodations.
And I think the last like for me personally, not necessarily a like for Tony. She's more introverted. I'm very extroverted. You wouldn't, believe it or not, you wouldn't believe it. I used to not be this way. But was the opportunity to meet so many different people. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a like, but I will say it could be a bonus dislike as well, because there was some people on the boat that,
let's just say they needed Jesus.
Yes, they definitely needed Jesus. But if you are an extrovert, and even if you're an introvert, there is things for you to do. There's people for you to meet. There's places for you to hide. Honestly, if you want to hide, you got your room.
I jokingly called parts of it an introvert's nightmare.
But at the end of the day, you know, one of the things that we learned is the back of the ship, it was a good place to kind of get away to. Especially in the evenings, there was little to no people there. Mm-hmm. But there's so many things we could dislike about it. There's so many things we could like about it. And I think we've covered that. But
we're going to do tips.
Tips it is.
We said we were going to give you 5 dislikes, 5 likes, and 5 tips. So.
First tip, water bottle with a filter. The reason we say that is it's not that the water's bad on the ship, but you are going to other smaller countries. You never know. And let's just be honest, the water, unless you go to the fountain, a little drink fountain,
you get about a 6-ounce cup. It's literally about this big.
Water is not free on the boat.
No. So if you go into a restaurant or if you're at the buffet or whatever and you ask specifically for water, you're going to be paying for about a liter of like Dasani water. And it's about $4.75 a bottle, I think. $4.50, $4.75.
So tip number 1, take a filtered water bottle.
Bring a water bottle.
If you don't want to bring a filter, don't worry about it.
Yeah, but I mean, at least you have the water bottle, so you're not going back to fill up your cup if you're like us, you know, and you drink more.
Hey, we're back again.
Pause.
4 ounces of water, she was saying.
Anyway, as I was saying, if you're like us and you like to drink more than maybe 4 ounces of water at a time, it's good to have the water bottle just so that you're not having to make endless trips back and forth to the, you know, what would we even call it? The drink bar area?
Yeah. And if it cuts off again, I'm going to put a new battery in it, and we're going to start with tip number 2.
Alright.
I'm about to hit this GoPro.
So anyway, that was tip number 1. Tip number 2.
Lanyard?
Yeah. Lanyards, we had friends again that were on the cruise with us that recommended that. I saw it in some of the other research that I did. Everybody said lanyards are your friend, and they were not joking.
Yep.
You have to have your ID card for, I mean, pretty much everything you do on the ship. You have to have it for getting on and off the ship at the ports. And it just makes it easier if you just have it on a lanyard. We actually got the ones from Amazon that have the retractable cord, so when you get ready to unlock your room or whatever, you literally, or use gosh, I was trying to think of other times that we had to have it
To pay for stuff.
Yeah, when you're paying for things, you can literally just stretch it out, hand it to them, and pull it back.
Scan it. Which leads us into tip number 3, like having that accessibility and availability. Look, when you're getting on the boat, you're getting off the boat, have your documents, whether it's your birth certificate, whether it's a passport, whatever you choose, because a lot of them will give you options, especially from U.S. to U.S., embarking and debarking.
Like for us, we didn't have to have a passport because everywhere that we were going to was technically a U.S. territory, or did not require a passport. So we got to have just our driver's license and birth certificates.
Now, with that being said, understand, if something would have happened while we were in Grand Caymans or Jamaica or Cozumel, and we had to leave the ship right then,
we would have still needed a passport.
We would have needed a passport to leave there and to get back into the U.S. So keep that in mind. Yes, we kind of took a risk just using our birth certificate, but it worked for us. It is an option.
Yeah.
But just have those documents out and ready, because 6-7 times at least getting on the ship, we had to present those documents. So
getting off the ship, same thing, multiple checkpoints where you have to present, both of your documents. So just having them somewhere, whether it be, a passport holder or, some sort of pouch that you could easily pull out of your backpack or bag or whatever, just having them readily accessible.
And it's funny, we were talking about tips that we could give, and I just come up with this one, so we'll call this a bonus. Even though we haven't gotten to 5, we'll throw it in there anyway. Make sure, research absolutely everything from the things you can take on the boat, like drinks, items just in general. Just research it. But the one tip that I can honestly give you with all that is, if you don't need a 51-pound suitcase, you can take 2 carry-on bags with you, which I wished I would have known at the time. I had to wait for our luggage to get there.
It's just like a plane. You can have your carry-on, and then you can have a personal item. So like for ladies, that's your purse. But for dudes, or ladies as well, you can also substitute your personal item with a backpack.
Yeah. And that makes it really easy for your documents. Like for me, I could have took my suitcase and my backpack.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is because you have to wait. If you don't put an extra change or 2 of clothes, whether it's a bathing suit, swim shorts, whatever, you want a change of clothes with you, because like Tony said previously, you don't know when your luggage is actually going to get to you. I think we were on the boat at 12:30.
No, we were not on the boat at 12:30.
It was 1, because we were waiting to get in our room by 1:30 after we did our little safety briefing. Whole nother story. Just make sure you have those items with you, because you may need them. It was well after 7:30 when we got our luggage, so we'd actually gone in 8 and come back before our luggage had gotten to us.
No, our luggage was there, remember, because I changed clothes.
Yeah, we were lucky. But anyway, we did see several people that was still waiting on their luggage well after 7:30 at night. Tip number 4.
Where were we at? He has a much better memory than I do, so I got to think about what we've already talked about.
Lanyard, water bottles,
documents,
and luggage.
What other tips?
We went over all this, but
in the truck on the way here, after the GoPro died, we even talked about all of it.
Fan.
Yes. So somewhere in all the research that I did, and trust me, being the introvert that I am, I researched and researched and researched for weeks before we actually got on the ship. And several people recommended, not because the rooms get hot, which they really didn't, but just for air circulation, because it can get kind of stuffy when you don't have a window to open. People recommended getting a portable fan. So I found this little bad boy on Amazon for literally like $10. It's collapsible, as you can see. It's got a couple different speeds. It is USB chargeable, but also can run off batteries as well. And it fit perfectly in my suitcase. And it was honestly kind of a lifesaver at times, just because.
She's stinky sometimes.
Really?
Actually,
really?
Anyway.
Mr. Parcelot? Okay. No, seriously though, if you just
Lifesaver.
need white noise, because it actually is really quiet
It is.
on the ship, and we're used to having fans running in
And
our
noises
room.
in the background like the dog.
And yeah, so we just needed that extra bit of white noise, but it really did help just with, air circulation and keeping the room from being so stuffy.
Tip number 5 and the last one, and then we'll give y'all the answer what you've been waiting for, hopefully, if you've stuck it out this far. Tip number 5 is bring multiple charging blocks, multiple cords, and even some battery packs for charging your devices, because there is only one.
Yeah, one USB port in the room.
And there was technically 2 plug-ins right next to the USB port, but for some reason,
one of them was actually like an international.
Yeah, and there's an international one. If you do international, there is an international one as well. But for some reason, we couldn't get. Maybe it was just the way our blocks are built, but it was hard plugging 2 things up at once.
Yeah.
Because the way the design is.
Couldn't do 2 blocks side by side just because they simply wouldn't align with the holes for the plugs.
Yeah, it was very weird. We made it work, but thankfully, because where we do record, I have tons of charging blocks, both for the wall and just battery pack chargers. So we were good in that aspect. We hope y'all have enjoyed that part of all this, actually, and we appreciate y'all sticking it out. So,
And hopefully it's been helpful.
because honestly, we didn't have most of this in this process. We did have friends that did go, and they did help as much as they could. But this is little stuff I think that even we had discussed with them that they had kind of missed. But will we cruise again? Your answer?
Yes, but probably not with Carnival Horizon.
We definitely want to cruise again. We want to try a different cruise line or cruise lines. Will it be Horizon with Carnival? No. For me, it's not a probably not. It's a no. Will we try Carnival again? I'm not saying we won't, but I definitely want to try like Norwegian or MSC, I think is the other one that we've heard a lot of good things about.
Not to be confused with Embassy.
Yeah, MSC. And of course, if you want to do an all adults cruise, you always got Virgin. There's no kids allowed on that boat, so if that's something you're looking for, hey, there you go.
I think
if you want to party, because apparently that's the party boat.
Yeah, I mean,
like the real party boat.
I think part of the thing for us is 7 days is maybe not something you should start off with.
Yeah, for sure. Bonus tip.
Yeah. Bonus tip number 2. If you've never cruised before, then probably start out with something smaller, like maybe a 3-day or a 4-day cruise.
For sure.
And 2, I think part of it was destination.
Yeah.
Like we might rethink the destination, because would we love to go back and see Jamaica? Absolutely.
I want to see the
Would
real
we
Jamaica.
love to go back and see Cozumel? Absolutely. But not through
A cruise line.
cruise line.
I think, that just kind of goes back to what we were discussing with our dislike. We didn't, and this is partly our fault. We like authentic feelings of like real culture, real food.
Right.
Immersing ourselves into the people. You're not going to get that with a cruise.
No,
from
it's very
our perspective. You're not.
commercialized.
Is it a bad thing? No, because for some people that gives them opportunity to see a brand new country, a brand new location that they may never get to at a cheaper budget. Like she said, yes, we will do Jamaica again, but it'll be in Jamaica with real Jamaicans. It won't be a through cruise line. Same way with Cozumel. And I promise you, if I get a chance next year to go back to Grand Caymans, I'm going, because even through the cruise line side of it, that little island was amazing. The people there were fantastic.
The vibe there was so much different.
Yep.
The vibe in the Cayman did not make you feel like, oh, you're just another tourist.
Yeah, definitely not.
And it wasn't like everybody was trying to shove something in your face and sell you something. We actually got to see the architecture and the nature and plant life and stuff of Grand Cayman.
And if y'all know us, and if you watched enough of these videos and watched them all the way through, please do it. Okay. I think you'd figure out with us that we're all about being authentic with not just ourselves, but the places we go, the things we do, and just everything in general. We love culture, we love food, we love to travel. Even if it's just an hour down the road, we want what's there in its fullness, not the commercialized whatever that you might get.
Right, like if we go to a new town, we're not going to go to the, chain restaurants or whatever. We're going to ask people, whether it be at our hotel or whatever, like, hey, where do you like to go eat? Where's the best place to eat around here? And it's often those off the beaten path, hole in the wall, kind of almost sometimes like dive restaurants that wind up having the most amazing food and the best experience.
We want to go where the locals go, not where the tourists go. I mean, that's just how we do it. In which, by the way, the last video, Fall Colors, or 2 videos ago, whatever it was, that's why you didn't see us eating that video, because we have a very picky older child.
Yes.
That we ate Olive Garden, okay?
I know people will say Olive Garden is not authentic Italian food, and I concede that is true. It's really not. But when you've got a kid that wants to spend time with you,
you go where
you make
can go.
some concessions, and if she wants to eat at Olive Garden, you let your 20-year-old eat at Olive Garden.
Yep. So that's why you didn't see us eating that one. But
And 2, I was still like recovering, and soup was about the only thing that I could eat.
And I wasn't great. I mean, I wasn't 100% either.
I was like, hey, they got soup. We're good. Let's go for it.
But anyway, guys, we appreciate the time. We really do hope you get this far. I know this is a long one, but hey, it's about the cruise. It's the good, the bad, and the helpful. Hopefully.
Yeah.
But this is where we're going to love you and leave you. So remember, God loves you.
We love you.
And if you can't hug somebody, smile and wave. We'll see y'all on the next one. Actually, I'll see y'all on the next one after this one. I don't think Tony's in it. Anyway, see ya.